Why? It did freeze, just right out the gate. Great.
It froze for small for a second too, and it fixed itself.
That's because it was the computer screen. That looks super different. Okay. Oh, it's still recording. All right. That's weird. Sorry, Chris. What's up, yogis? Welcome back. An hour of yin and yang. My name is Sesa. This is Casey. She will be my demonstrator today. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll just start off in child's pose. So if you want to sit towards the back of your mat on the tops of the feet and the shins, bring your big toes to touch. Knees can touch as well. This is a very traditional approach. It begins to help kind of round or release, create space within the lower back. Arms can extend forward. That's a very active version. It expands the front body, opening the lungs, begins to turn on the muscles within the shoulders. You could also open your knees up, maybe wider than your torso. That's going to begin an external hip rotation. Arms wrapping down your sides, palms face up is a much more passive version. And maybe it's a combination of the two, right? You don't have to just go with the same thing that maybe you've always heard in a particular yoga class, or even just the child's pose that you continually to kind of fall into in your practice. I always try things out, especially first pose of the class. And then once I find this place where I feel like I'm getting what my body needs, and that is creating space where there is none. So actually finding a place where the body is actually maybe resisting what it is you're doing a little bit. And then using the breath to cultivate that space. So let's start by first letting go of a nice long exhale. And then take a deep inhale through your nose. Send your breath to the hook of your tailbone. Feel your ribs expand out horizontally. Then open up your mouth and just audibly let it go. We'll take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose, this time holding at the very top. Unless you're pregnant, you always want to keep breathing. And then open up your mouth. Deep inhale through the nose. Drag it out to hold. And then keeping your lips sealed, just as slowly begin to exhale all the air out through the nose. And then just breathing in and out your nose, finding this slow ebb and flow. And for the next 60 minutes, we are going to use the breath. Remember to grow the space where we're finding resistance. So as you're ready, let's go ahead and inhale. Extend your arms long to the front of the mat. Open your hands up, shoulders distance apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog, we'll lift the hips, tuck the toes, press the heels towards the earth. So feel free to pedal out your legs, just like in child's pose, fidget around. You might lift one leg up, you might lift the other. Do what you need to do. Make sure you do look at the hands. You want to make sure they jet straight out from the shoulders. And ideally it's the index and middle finger that point straight forward. So it looks like there's a slight turnout of the hands, but if you're tight and the shoulders are sensitive than the wrists, it might go a little further. So it's more like the thumb and index that point forward. But then as you relax your head and neck, just remind yourself that ultimately stillness is the goal. So as the feet rest, hips distance apart, the heels spin back and just slightly out, disappearing behind the toes. Rather than shoving your knees back, I want you to actually lift the hip creases up, Push the tops of your thighs back to work the legs towards straight, pressing the heels down. And then notice the spine. Try to feel it out. You don't want the lower back to round out, but you don't want it just to be over swaying. It should be long and neutral. So hip creases lift, front ribs and sternum bone knit slightly in. You're accentuating the natural curves and convexes of the spine. And then from there, we'll just consciously think about the hands. Close your eyes, and I want you to just lift your fingertips up off the mat. That's going to help you ground down to the whole circumference of your palm. Then once you have that, keep that, but fan your fingers into the mat, root each knuckle, ending with your fingertips. So I've heard some teachers say not to close your eyes in practice, and I think that's actually the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Really being able to close your eyes and articulate it within your own body is so important. So feel free to close your eyes anytime. But if you're ready, inhale, come forward, high plank. The heels push back. Thigh bones, they firm up towards the ceiling against the weight of your hips getting heavy. They stay level with your shoulder blades. Even if you have to drop to the knees, you tuck your tailbone in so you can pull the belly in. And again, it's not rounding the lower back out, it's just lengthening it or bringing it to neutral. You push into the hands so much, especially the inner edge of your hands, that shoots the energy up the forearms through the biceps and lifts the chest. The crown of the head lengthens forward as the shoulder blades sandwich down the back. Breathe. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Now inhale, come forward, high plank. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. One more, inhale, roll forward like a wave. And exhale, pulling back, downward dog. Inhale to high plank. If you need to drop to the knees, use them. I want you to lean your shoulders forward, and then within an exhale, go ahead and lower slow. Go all the way to the mat. Rest the center of your forehead down, put the tops of your feet down. Now slide your hands back. Make sure the wrists do stack directly under the elbows. With an inhale, begin to pull the crown of your head so far forward that it lengthens the spine enough that you can lift your head and your chest up off the ground. Rather than pressing into the hands, just imagine dragging the skin of your elbows back and push more into the tops of the feet, your hips and thighs. Pull the belly, and even here we're thinking of tucking the tailbone towards the earth. And then inhale, maybe lift a little higher. Exhale, let it go. Now I want you to bring your hands out on the either side of your yoga mat and cup the earth with the fingertips of your hands. So you're all protecting two of your favorite cupcakes on either side of the mat. Hands are in line with your shoulders. Now with an inhale, peel yourself up. Lift the head, the chest. Push into the feet, the thighs. Pull the belly in. Now I want you to lift your hands up off the mat. Hover them. And then with an inhale, you're going to bring your fingertips to tap in front of your face. Elbows stay bent. And then exhale, draw the elbows back. Imagine pinching them together behind you. And then inhale, fingers tap. You might lower a little bit. Exhale, pull the elbows back, lift the chest. Inhale, fingers tap in front of you. Exhale, pull the elbows back, lift the spine. Do a few more on your own. Try to keep the back of your body in the mat, so the feet, the legs, the hips. Really, you want to feel this within the muscles. This is like sit-ups, but we're doing it in the back. Breathe. Now inhale, meet with those elbows pinching back. You're going to plant your hands next to your lower rib cage, your waistline. Press into the palms, inhale, upward facing dog. Draw the shoulder blades down the back, hug your triceps back, but thinking of pressing the forearms forward. Maybe you lift the glans, just don't throw your head back. Take an inhale. Exhale, roll over your toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. So now let's piece together vinyasa, breath per movement, back bend of your choice. Inhale to high plank. As you lean out, exhale, chaturanga. You can stick with cobra or inhale, upward dog. And then exhale, downward dog. Now from downward dog, we will inhale. the right leg to the sky. Flex to the heels, square off the hips. With an exhale, pull the knee to your chest, shoulders land at your wrists, and I want you to look forward. Try to get those hips down, level with the shoulder blades. Think of tucking your tailbone forward so you can pull the knee close to the chest as you drive through the inner edge of that left leg through the left heel. And then inhale, lift that leg up and back, flex the heel. Now exhale, pull the knee to your chest, glance out, same place we came from. Inhale, kick it high. On your own, breath per movement. So shoulders always land at your wrists. You always look forward. You want to think of your body landing in a high plank, but that right knee is curling into the cavity of your chest. You're pulling the belly in, engaging the core. With an inhale, we'll kick the leg up. Exhale, pull the knee to the chest, look forward and step next to the right thumb. Go ahead and drop the back knee, top of the foot to the mat. Slide that leg back an inch, maybe 2. And then with an inhale, reach up towards the sky. So very commonly as yogis, we allow our hips to just fall forward. And we actually cramp or close up that right hip. So I want you to imagine actually squeezing your inner thighs closer together. Notice how that lifts the weight of your torso out of your hips, descending down. That's what we want. Knit the front ribs in as if you're trying to create less space between your pubic bone and your sternum bone, giving space to the lumbar spine. Wrap the shoulder blades out to the outer ribs. Know that when you lift your arms up, by nature, your shoulder blades or the scapula lift up. When you hear drop your shoulders, we're talking about the trapezius muscles. Can you soften the tops of your shoulders down? And then inhale, maybe look up, reach a little higher. Exhale, hands down, pull the front leg straight, flexing the right foot back. Ardha Hanumanasana. You can relax the head and neck. As you flex your right toes back, I want you to imagine dragging your right heel back towards your left knee. That's going to help keep your hamstrings safe. Breathe. Now I just want you to cup the earth with the fingertips and think a little cobra up dog in your shoulders. Spine shoots straight forward out of your hips, belly pulls in. Now know at any point you can always use your hands for support, but we're going to try and take it up a notch. Inhale, rebend the knee, reach your arms up. This time I want you to hook your thumbs like a chain link fence. And then slowly arch over to your right. Push into your left shin, hug that outer right hip in, squeeze those inner thighs, even here together so you're jumping out of your hips with the spine. Now keep the hands as they are. Inhale, come to center. As you exhale, you're going to slowly pull the hips back. Reach your fingertips forward, lean your torso out over a front flexed foot. Beautiful. And then inhale, rebend the front knee, reach your arms up, and take it over to the right. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, pull the hips back. Reach out with the hands. Drag your right heel back as your toes flex back. And then inhale, bend the knee. Reach up and to the right. We've got one more. Inhale up, exhale, reach your torso out, pull the hips back, flex your right foot back. Breathe. And then release your hands down, relax your head and neck, forehead towards the shin, finding a passive release. And as you're ready, inhale, bend the knee. Plant your left hand under the shoulder. Let's reach the right arm up towards the sky. Pushing into the left palm, rolling your left shoulder blade down the back. Notice the top arm. If you're pinching it back behind you, I'm more interested in just keeping it straight out from the shoulder. And as you're broadening both collarbones, you're also trying to broaden the space between the shoulder blades. So it's as if the front and back of your bodies were sandwiching together. Now keep that, but tuck your back toes. Inhale, drive your left heel back and lift the left thigh up through the ceiling. Again, that left hip is lifting against the weight of your hips falling, just like we do it in high plank. Right hip hugs back, but you sink that sit bone towards your heel. You should feel your right calf push into your shin. And keeping the left shoulder hugging down the back, take your top arm up and overhead. Right tricep wraps towards your face. Palm facing the mat at least. And eventually you get such an external rotation in your top arm, it's like the thumb goes up and the pinky faces down. Maybe look up underneath your arm, take an inhale. Exhale, right hand to the mat, step your right foot back. Chaturanga is your exit. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. Inhale the left leg to the sky. Square off the hips, pull the belly to the spine. And then with an exhale, knee to chest, shoulders land at your wrists, look forward, hips are low, tuck your tailbone forward. Inhale, lift the leg up and back. Exhale, knee to chest, we glance out, your inner right heel pushes back. Inhale, stretch it to the sky. On your own, just like we did on the other side, find a rhythm by following your breath. And then we will meet with that inhale, lifting the leg up and back. Together, exhale, knee to chest, look forward to step forward. Drop the back knee. Top of the foot down. You might slide the leg an inch or two, depending on how much space you actually have. Inhale your arms up. So remember, as yogis, it is very easy to just sink into our flexibility. We fall into that space that we already have. So that's actually where we want to create a little bit of blockage or strength in this case. So I want you to squeeze the inner thighs together. Jump the front of your left hip up off the top of your thigh. Keep that left knee stacking with the ankle as your calf. We're pushing forward into the shin. Front ribs knit in, sternum bone knits towards the pubic bone. Shoulder blades, they can lift, and your arms actually ascend out of your waist, and it's the top of your shoulders, the trapezius softening. Breathe. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands to the mat, Ardha Hanumanasana. Pull the front leg straight. You can relax the head and neck, flex your left foot. And remember, a very important element to this is that feeling of dragging your left heel back, especially when we move into the active portion of this. It's going to help keep the hamstrings safe. So now, cupping the earth with the fingertips, think flat back, lengthening the chest straight out of the hips. Pull the belly in. And so remember, you can always use your hands at this point if you need them, but when you're ready, bend the knees, reach up to the sky. Hook your thumbs the weird way. So we tend to always go with one way, so maybe try switching. It'll feel a little weird. Inhale, grow taller. Exhale, reach to your left. Find that side body stretch. Push into the back shin, the top of your foot. Keep squeezing the inner thighs closer together. And then inhale, grow up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, hips pull back, torso hinges forward as the fingertips reach forward or they go to the earth. But drag your left heel back. And then rebend the knee. Inhale, reach your arms up. And exhale, take it to the left. Inhale, reach straight up. Exhale, pull the hips back, lean out, flex your left heel. And then inhale, bend the knee, reach up, exhale to the left. Now inhale, grow tall. Exhale, pull the hips back, flex the foot, reach your fingertips out. Keep dragging the left heel back. We pause. And then release the hands down, fold over your leg. Check in with your breath. And then slowly rebend your front knee. Plant your right hand, reach the left arm up. So with the back knee dropped, we can really focus on what's happening in the upper body. The right palm pushing down should come from the energy of your right shoulder blade rolling down, but also protracting towards those outer ribs. The front body, it hugs in, broaden the collarbones, but also broaden the space between your shoulder blades. Make sure the front knee stays stacked with the ankle. Now we'll tuck the back toes. Use that right thigh lifting against your hips without lifting the hips up. The hips stay low, and that's where you get that deep space in the front of your right hip. Take your top arm up and overhead as you hug your left hip crease back. Create more space from that left hip to the fingertips. Try to externally rotate that left arm so shoulder blade hugs the ribs, tricep wraps to the face. Maybe you look up. Exhale, left hand down. We step back, chaturanga as you're ready. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, go ahead and walk your hands back to meet your feet. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine towards the front of the mat. Exhale, fold in. Now at the same flat back, inhale, Tadasana. Circle your arms to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. So we'll do a sun A, but from the back of the mat. So inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold, let it go. Inhale, glance out. Keep the length of the spine. Exhale, walk out, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. Let's inhale the right leg to the sky. Exhale, pull the knee to your chest, look forward and step next to your right thumb. Pull the front leg straight, but cup the earth with the fingertips of your hands. Think cobra up dog in your shoulders. Hug your outer right hip back. Squeeze your inner thighs together to stabilize the pelvis. Now knit the front ribs in, and I want you to reach your arms back, palms face the earth like wings. The tricky part here is don't shove your right knee back. You don't want to hyperextend it. Just push into the front foot. Squeeze the inner thighs together. And then slowly bend the front knee. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Crescent pose. Bend the back knee. Same thing here. Don't collapse into your right hip. Tuck the tailbone down. Draw the inner thighs together to lift the front of your hips up. Wrap those triceps forward. Reach up through the sides of your body. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower your chest halfway. Reach back. Push into your front leg to straighten the leg. So straight back to where we came from. Inhale, bend the knee, reach your arms up. Exhale, hover over a straight front leg, arms reach back. One more, bend the knee, inhale, reach up. Exhale, straighten the leg, fly your arms back, pause. Now pull the belly tight, squeeze those inner thighs closer together. Can you reach your arms forward? Driving the left heel towards the earth. It probably won't touch, and that's okay. Knit the front ribs together. Breathe. Take an inhale. Exhale, release your hands to the mat. Fold over that front leg. Think belly to thigh, chest to knee. Eventually chin, nose, and forehead will all hit your shin. Find your breath. And as you're ready, we'll inhale, rebend the knee. Turn the back heel down, lead with your left arm, warrior two, come on up. So your front heel traditionally lines up at the center of the back arch. If that makes you feel crowded in your hips, remember, we're trying to create space where there is none. So maybe you try front heel to back heel. Make sure the back toes do turn forward at least 10 degrees up in front of the heel. Inner left thigh spins back as your inner right thigh draws forward. Knee stacks with the ankle. As you push your knee out to the right, it should really come from those outer right glute muscles hugging in and turning on. Tailbone draws down, front ribs pull in. Left side ribs draw back as if your shoulder blades were laying flat against the wall behind you. Arms, they pull apart. You focus over your front hand. You flip your right palm up. Inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Back hand stays light. Top arm straight as can be. Front leg still works its way forward. Your right hip, again, think of lifting the right hip away from your leg. Take an inhale. Exhale, right forearm to right thigh. Left arm goes up and overhead. Ground down to the knife edge of your back foot. Pull the lower belly and front ribs in. That top arm, tricep wraps down just like we did in our twists earlier. As you push into your right forearm, roll your right shoulder blade down the back. So you could very easily keep your right forearm on your thigh. If you want a little more, you're going to extend your right arm forward, taking an unsupported version of this pose. Right outer glutes hug on and turn on. So whether your forearm's resting on your thigh, you're hovering your arms, I want you to look at the mat and slowly try to pull your right leg straight. Right hip pulls back. Torso and arms reach forward. If your right forearm was on the thigh, just place it on the shin. Or if you want to put it on the shin, put it on your shin too. Breathe. And then everybody right hand to the shin, left arm lifts up and then wraps onto the lower back. Find a half bind. Knit those front ribs in as you lift the tip of your left shoulder up. Soften the front knee, even though the hands on the shins, squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Now go ahead and bend your front knee. Look 12 inches in front of your right foot. You're going to step your hand there and lift your back foot up off the mat. Flex the foot. Spin your inner left thigh down towards the earth without letting your left hip drop. It's just the motion of the femur bone becoming situated or internally rotated in that hip socket. Lift the inner thigh up towards the inner ankle for height. Lengthen the right ribs away from your hip as you hug that right hip back. So you could very much stay here with the half bound, half moon. If you want more Chapasana, Ardha Chandrasana, you'll bend your back leg. Your left hand is already there. Just reach for your foot. Grab the arch of your foot, the ankle, top of your foot, toes, pant leg, and then kick your foot away from your body, not necessarily up to the ceiling, which you see a lot, but think away from your butt, keeping the left hip and shoulder back. Think upper back bend within the shoulder blades. Make sure there's a softness within your standing knee. And then slowly kick the leg back, reach your left arm up. Pause. Looking down at the ground if you're not already, take an inhale. Little bend in the standing leg, exhale, lift your right hand up, warrior three. Square off your left hip and shoulder. All sorts of noises you guys probably can't hear. Left heel pushes back, crown of the head lengthens forward, inner thighs glue together. And then inhale, stand up, left foot next to right. Inhale, Tadasana, circle your arms up, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Sun A from the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step or jump back, Chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, walk your hands back to your feet. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold in. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center. Inhale, Tadasana, reach for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, flat back. Try and make it an extra long exhale, Chaturanga. You walk all the way out and then bend your elbows. Inhale, lift the spine. Exhale, lift the hips. Inhale the left leg high, flex to the heel. Exhale, pull the knee to your chest, step next to your left thumb. Pulling the front leg straight, hugging the outer left hip in, squeezing the inner thighs closer together, cupping the earth with the fingertips of your hands. Think cobra up dog in your shoulders, and feel the whole front body lifting away from your front thigh. And then reach your arms back, palms face the earth or each other. Right heel has to drive back, that'll help stabilize. And then with an inhale, bend the knee, reach your arms up. Crescent pose, bend the back knee, tuck your tailbone down, do what you need to do. And then we're gonna piece it together, breath per movement. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower your chest, reach back as your hips pull back, your front leg straightens out. Inhale, bend the knee, rise up through the arms. Exhale, reach down and back as you're straightening the front leg. Inhale, bend the knee, reach up. Exhale, straighten the leg, lean the torso out. Pause, squeeze the inner thighs together, belly pulls in. You might stay here, you might try reaching your arms forward. Wrap the triceps down, pull the belly in. Take an inhale. Exhale, hands down, we fold over that front leg. Imagine the torso like a wave rolling down your left thigh. And then with an inhale, we'll bend the knee. Turn the back heel down. Inhale, warrior two, come on up. So whether you take heel to heel or heel to arch is up to you. The back toes turning forward of that 10 degrees is for the protection of your body. Our back leg is anchored into the hip. You want this back leg to feel like Tadasana. The more you can push into the back foot and anchor this into your hip socket, the more your front leg can open safely. But again, notice if you're just sinking into the front hip, creating this deep crease in the front of your left thigh. You want the front of the hip to be lifting. Knit front ribs in, right side ribs draw back, arms spread apart. Whether you focus over your front hand or not is up to you, but we're gonna flip the left palm up and inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Keep the backhand light. Try to become more dependent on your core holding you up than weight in your backhand. Left leg still works its way forward as your left hip lifts up to arch your spine back. Breathe. Take an inhale. Exhale, left forearm to left thigh, right arm will reach up and overhead. Ground down to the knife edge of your back foot. Extend those top fingertips, wrap the tricep down, hug your front body in. Roll the left shoulder blade down the back and collide that by lengthening the left ribs forward into it. Now, if this is enough, stay here. You might reach your bottom arm forward, palms face each other, suspending your torso. So when you suspend your torso, you really have to do it from the strength of your legs rather than just shoving your knee back. It has to be slow. Push into your front foot, begin to lift the left hamstring up to hug the hip back, an unsupported version of triangle pose. Breathe. If your forearm was on your thigh, remember the left hand just goes to your shin. Everybody else, we're almost there. Take an inhale. Exhale, left hand to the shin, right arm will reach up and then fan onto the lower back, finding your hip crease, grabbing the thigh if you have that, but knitting the front ribs in, lifting the right shoulder up. Take an inhale. Looking 12 inches in front of your left foot, you'll step your left hand there and lift your back foot up. Think of it like a teeter-totter. Because the weight is going forward, your back foot is going to have no choice but to lift. As you lift the right hip and shoulder up, by hugging the left hip back, this is just like warrior two. It's the strength in the left hip that's doing the rotation. Back leg is in Tadasana. You might bend the back knee, find Chapasana, Ardha Chandrasana, or that bow variation where you grab your right foot with the right hand. And then keeping the knee shooting straight back from your hip, rather than going up with the foot, go back away from the bottom. Make sure you're not shoving your standing knee back. Breathe. Keep hugging that left hip in so you're not compressing the lower back. And then everybody, kick the leg back, reach your arm up, half moon, pause. And then this part is so great, we all forgot it happened. Take an inhale. Exhale, warrior three. Lift your left hand up, turn your right hip and shoulder down. Squeeze the inner thighs together, pull the belly tighter, flex the back heel, and then slowly stand up, right foot next to left, lift the chest. Inhale, Tadasana. Circle your arms up, watch your palms kiss. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. And exhale, Adho Mukha. From downward dog, let's go ahead and inhale the right foot next to the right thumb. Drop the back knee, top of the foot to the mat. You might use a pillow, a hand towel, a bolster, and put it underneath your left knee. If you want to resituate yourself, you could slide your mat lengthwise out of the wall, but you're going to bring both hands to the top of your right thigh, lifting the chest, trying to get your shoulders to lean back over your hips. If you have two blocks, you may even Plant the blocks on the tallest level, walking them back behind the hips. The further back the shoulders go, the more you're going to feel this within the lumbar spine, finding a slight back bend. This might be enough. You also may get enough in the front of that left hip, in the hip flexor, the quadricep. If you want to go more, what you're going to do, especially if you're working against the wall, is you're going to bend your back knee. I'm going to be Casey's wall. And you're just going to kind of plant the foot. Whether it's the wall, it could be your couch. And just have your foot suspended, weighing heavy onto the wall, the couch, something. And that's going to create more stress, not only within the hip flexor and where the quad connects into the femur bone, but also where the quad connects in at the patella or the kneecap. And having your foot up like this adds a lot. So if that means you walk the hands maybe further forward and take less out of the back bend, that's okay. But just make an educated decision, right? We're trying to create space where there is none, but we're not trying to force it. We never want to force anything. If we are gentle, if we ask our body to do it slowly over the course of time, the body eventually will give in. It will consent. Yet if we force it, generally it leads to nothing but injury. We tear things, or in this case, especially within the yin practice, we create too much flexibility within the ligaments and tendons, which over time causes things to begin to slip out of place, which leads to injury. So remember, this is a lot, even with that back foot just in the mat. And our body tends to kind of freak out a little bit at what is happening. Just because if we do poses like this to stretch the muscles within a vinyasa style class, we generally don't sit much longer than 30 to maybe 60 seconds. To really begin to trigger or tap into the connective tissues, we have to sit here for longer than 90 seconds at least. I mean, traditionally they say that you're meant to focus on one particular joint, ligament, tendon for 10 to 20 minutes. So for most people, sitting in a pose like this for that long, it's worse than death. So if your foot is against the wall, you'll bring your hands down first. Or if it's on the couch, you'll bring your hands down first. You'll slowly slide that left knee forward so the foot comes down. And then tuck the back toes, lift the knee, step your right foot back, downward dog. And then we will step the left foot next to the left thumb. Drop the back knee, top of the foot, put a hand towel, bolster, not a super big cushy pillow under your back knee. You'll bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. You might choose to just stay here if you have the two blocks and want to walk them back and plant your hands there. That takes this pose deeper or further, building more intensity. If that's enough, stay put. If you want to make that choice to bend the back leg and slide the toes up the wall, or place the top of your foot on the edge of your couch cushion, that's a nice place to do it because it's soft, do that. But also know that the two sides of your body are going to be very different. One is going to be much more cranky than the other. And that's okay. It's okay to do less. And if at any point you find yourself having to drop down, come back up, generally that means you're doing too much. So doing less and less until you find this place that by no means is it comfortable, but it is bearable if you breathe. And as we begin to create space, things begin to open up and soften. Whether that is within the physical body, or even within the rigidness of the mind. And so often do I find that people, they bring all the things that we're meant to actually step away from onto the yoga mat, whether that is something like vanity, judgment, whether it's against themselves, especially within this quarantine, that's all we really have. Or comparing ourselves to the people around us, in this case, Casey, you're the person on your screen. It's very easy to fall into that rhythm and pattern because that is quite often how we live off the mat. So rather than falling into that, try to just sit within your own body. Try to let go of judgment and just find a place of acceptance. Find a place of gratitude, being thankful for the body that you do have, that it's able to get you through a class like we've just gone through. Understanding that yoga will get the body to be about as symmetrical as possible, but it will never be perfect. Because nothing material will ever be perfect. And it was created that way, really as like a blessing in disguise. It's kind of what forces us to begin to dig deeper. So remember, if your back leg is on the wall, the couch, you'll step your hands down first. You will slide that right knee forward, just enough so you can tuck your toes into the mat. Plant the hands and lift your hips as you step your left foot back. Go ahead and pedal out the feet, come up and down on your toes, whatever feels right. And then dropping to the knees. Cross one shin over the other, sit back behind your feet. We're going to come into Sukhasan or crisscross applesauce. So just getting an internal or external rotation, and we'll add a forward fold. So try to make sure that you do keep your feet wide and forward with your knees. So it's actually more like the heels that line up with your knees rather than your feet pulling into your groin. If this hurts your knees, you can always prop the knees up, or you do pull the feet to line up more with the pubic bone so the knees can fall below your hips. If your tailbone is rounding underneath you, make sure you pull the cushion back, lifting the pelvis up to neutral. If you have double pigeon in your practice where you stack ankle to knee on both sides, feel free to take it. But also remember, you're supposed to do about 35 or 45% of what you would normally do. And then you are going to keep the tailbone and your pelvis from rounding underneath you. And you're going to think of rounding from the top down. So tuck your chin to your chest. That's going to round your cervical spine, which pulls the rounding into the thoracic spine. As that continues, it's going to force your lower back to do the same. And once you cannot get any more round without rounding your tailbone and your pelvis underneath you, that's when you go forward. Arms can either fall over the thighs, you can wrap them down and back like you do in a child's pose, but ideally your forehead rests somewhere on a block, a bolster, pillows. And then just close your eyes. Wherever you landed, land there. Very common thing you hear is it's not about the destination but the journey. And so the beautiful thing about yin is we have the journey, those moments in between, but then we have these moments where we've reached our goal, we've landed in the pose. And for some people to just sit there, get still, get quiet, it's very difficult because we'd rather keep moving. It's a very easy thing to do. Especially within our culture and our society, we are very driven individuals, generally speaking. In the Vedas, they call it very mode of passion. We always have this mindset of having to go from one thing to the next, getting this done and that done, starting this business, while we write up on this blog, right? There's so many things we can always be doing, but to get still, to stop, it's equally as important. Because really it's a place where we can kind of comb over our life, what we're doing, how we're doing it. But more importantly, it's a place where we can actually begin to step away from all of that, taking our practice a step further, a bit deeper. The first step within any spiritual journey to spiritual realization or understanding, towards enlightenment, the first step is self-realization. Realizing who we are in ourself. And so in order to do that, we have to find the moments to pause. Because it is so easy to get caught up in identifying with a particular work project, a particular friend group, music group, fitness group. It's easy to identify with the body. Well, I'm a male, I'm a female. It's very easy to identify ourselves as maybe the ethnic background of our predecessors. And that is because that is something, we are taught within our culture and society. So within the practice of yin, or the practice of stillness, that is a place where we begin to peel back the layers. So on our way in, we started from the top to the bottom. So to come out, we start from the bottom. Begin to roll your spine up, just vertebrae by vertebrae. Imagine you could literally feel every single vertebrae stacking on top of itself, pulling the next one up, because they're all connected. And eventually the neck will be pulled back over the shoulders. You can simply switch the cross in the legs. Before you do so, just make sure you look at what leg is in front or on top, and remember that, because I did not tell you which one to do. That's your job. Plant your hands behind you maybe. You can uncross the legs and let your knees kind of fall side to side, windshield washing the legs a bit. It's going to help bring some fluid back into the hip sockets. And remember, it's a mindful practice, so whatever leg was in front or on top, you're going to bring it inside or underneath. And remember, the hips, especially in these hip openers, they are drastically different. So put the bolster under your other knee. And then as you're ready, we will round from the top down. So tuck the chin, let it fall to the chest. Let that begin to dome or cat out your upper back. Let that round out your lower spine without rolling the pelvis underneath you. You stop when you get to the sacrum. And then you begin to go forward, letting your arms fall however or wherever is comfortable. If they are in front of you, ideally they kind of fall over the shins, elbows hanging to the mat, so you do get this kind of softening within the shoulders, rather than extending them out like you did in maybe our first child's pose today. Remember, that is active, which is a yang quality. And there is always yang present. There's going to be involuntary muscle engagement. In other words, muscle engagement we have no control over. Our body naturally is going to engage certain muscles so that you don't just fall over or squish into this. But you want to control as much as you can, contribute as little as possible to that muscle engagement. So whether that's the muscles in your neck, your shoulders, scanning all the little muscles within your face, finding a release. And then on this side, I want you to try to just pick up from wherever you left off on the other side. That deep dive to finding yourself. Beyond the surface of your skin, beyond the strength or the flexibility or lack thereof of the muscles, beyond the density of your bone. And at first, it is coming to the barrier of the mind. As the mind is directly connected to the senses, and the senses are what we use to perceive, right? But we have to understand that the soul, you, that eternal being, temporarily situated in that body, you also have spiritual senses. And so you have to begin to notice how even the barrier of the mind, oftentimes people come up with this argument that the mind is the source of life, right? But when you get still like this, it gives us enough time to realize that in fact, we are not. Because we are watching the mind. There is someone witnessing, acknowledging, noticing, becoming aware of the thoughts, patterns, and habits of the mind. So you even have to push past the barrier of the mind. And oftentimes that can take the longest because it is a much more subtle thing to be dealing with. So as you feel ready, from the sacrum, that upside down triangle that sits at the top of your glutes, you're going to begin to roll your spine up. Just vertebrae by vertebrae. I like to do it on an exhale so I can pull the belly in to help support that ascension. Once you're up, you should take your time. You can remove the props, plant your hands behind you, uncross the legs. If you feel called to it, windshield wash your knees side to side. And keep any props handy that you would like to set up in your Savasana, because that is where we're headed next. So whenever you're ready, you're going to just begin to work your way to laying flat on the back. Whether you slide a bolster underneath your spine or you put your pillow under your head, maybe blocks or a pillow under your knees. But eventually just allowing a sense of full release. Savasana means the corpse pose. The dead man's pose. And even this is a place of practice. Because none of us know anybody or even know somebody who knows somebody whose body has never died. Right? The physical body of flesh and bone. We now have the average lifespan of about 78 years. So we all know that at some point or another, this body will come to its final rest. A place where we are forced to let go of everything and everyone. So Savasana is meant to be a place where we practice that release. We willingly allow ourselves, just momentarily, let go, not only of the body, not only of the mind. Let go of your family, let go of your friends, your work, your responsibilities. Let go of opinions. And find your peace, right? So from the moment that we basically open our eyes and are born into this material and temporary experience, we have, whether it's our peers, society, culture, media, bombarding us and training us to think that we are this material body. That getting your body to maybe look a certain way will make you happy. That finding the perfect relationship, have a lot of money, the ability to buy a house, that these things are going to make you happy. And this really all stems from this false identity of, well, you are this material body, so material things are going to satisfy you. But any time we identify as being this material body, it only causes suffering. Whether it's due to the body that we are in, what it looks like in our eyes or the eyes of others. We are due to suffer even if we do find a relationship. We are able to buy a house, a car, We can acquire a lot of wealth and have lots of different things. We are still bound to suffer because those things are temporary. We know, whether it's subconsciously or consciously thinking about it, that at some point or another, just as they come, they will most certainly go. That at the moment of death of this body, we cannot take any of it with us. It's like Jesus says in the Bible, and obviously I'm paraphrasing, but rather than building treasure here on earth where rust and moths will eat and decay, build upon your treasure in heaven, where neither rust nor moths can eat and decay. Our spiritual wealth, or sukriti, how much spiritual knowledge we can acquire is one thing, and then living and acting on that is another. There is knowledge, memorization, the quoting of scriptures and different spiritual things that sound nice. And then there's wisdom, and wisdom comes with action, the ability to act upon what you are learning, what you are saying. And it's when we can build upon our spiritual wealth. That is what we can take with us onto the next. That is something we never lose. So I implore you to take a little bit more time, whether it is in self-reflection or just getting still and trying to get in touch with who you are beyond the body and the mind. Have these deep and spiritual conversations with others who are also maybe searching. And even better, so maybe somebody who understands a little bit more than you. Read and study the sastras, or holy scriptures of the world, as they are our guidebooks. They're not just words on a page or mythology, but they are our guidebooks. And then beyond all of that, begin to apply it into your life. So just something to think about, something to take with you and work with beyond the rubber mat. But I offer you the benefit of really laying here in Savasana for however long you would like. If you have to get up and go, do so slowly, just like you would at the end of any class with me or another teacher guiding you out. But until next time, namaste. Thank you all for coming and practicing with us today. If